Welcome to Cloud on Air, live webinars from Google Cloud. We are hosting webinars daily. You're watching Cloud Now, a show with panels with customers, partners, and analysts about the journey to the cloud. My name is Chanel McGregor, and today we'll be talking about the reality of going 100% cloud. And joining me today is David Speicher from Speicher, Indiana, and Tristan Dobbs from Cloudbakers. You can ask questions anytime on the platform, and we have Googlers on standby to answer them. Let's get started. Tell me about Speicher, Indiana.
Thanks, Chanel. Speicher, Indiana, we're a health system, a whole health provider in central Indiana, where we perform primary care services, mental health services, deaf services. We have recovery centers and also social determinants of health, which means things like housing and employment. We're a safety net provider in our area, and you should know that we're very mission driven. The number one reason people work at Speicher is to make a difference with the people we serve and in our communities.
That sounds amazing. And it seems like Speicher seems to be ahead of the curve when it comes to technology. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think we are, especially in our industry. We've gained some national attention and on our digital transformation, and it all started with our partnership with Google and Cloudbakers.
Was there a catalyst when it came to looking to move to the cloud?
There was an unfortunate catalyst, actually, where we had a breach. And we're in healthcare, so we're a very highly regulated industry. And the breach came when one of our buildings got broken into and 12 laptops got stolen. On those laptops was a local email client, a particularly hungry one, that would store sometimes years worth of email information on the machine itself and in the server. So when we lost those machines and they were not encrypted, we had to report a breach. And that was a very painful thing for Speicher. That was when I came on board and started campaigning against some disruption and started adopting modern architecture, secure cloud services.
A little bit of a wake-up call, right?
It was. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. This was a long process, a 4-year review, dealing with OCR, attorneys involved, data forensics to see what was on those machines. I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
And is there a cost associated when it comes to a breach like this?
Sure, we had to cover credit monitoring for all of the people associated with it, and just the time and effort it took over the 4-year period to get beyond that. But our case is now closed based on our transformation, and it's now behind us.
That's good to hear. So just to change gears a little bit, I've heard about BHAGs. Can you tell me more about those?
Yes, that's a big thing at Speicher. It sort of defines us. So we intentionally set out to create some big goals, some big, hairy, audacious goals. This is a term coined by the author Jim Collins. And so we set out to go beyond the annual plan and set out some big, hairy, audacious goals. So the first one is the one I head up. It's 100% in the cloud within 3 years. When we started this initiative and after the breach, I started counting the number of servers we had. We had over 100 servers. 100 servers, both virtual and physical, to manage, to cool, to rent space for, to plan on replacing, to ride them until they're almost dead, to maximize the ROI. And we really only had one person managing those servers. And so we set out to not introduce cloud at Speicher, but to go all in. And so we started celebrating turning these servers off one by one. We're down to 25, and we're going to be done by July and have no data center presence.
Wow, that's amazing.
The other 3 have to do with clinical care. So 20 by 20 is a growth strategy. We wanted to serve 20,000 unduplicated clients in Indiana by the year 2020. We've actually just accomplished that. And 10 in 10, which stands for we want to extend the life of the people we serve by 10 years within 10 years. People with serious mental illness die anywhere from 15 to 25 years before people without suffering from that illness. And we think that's unacceptable. And the last one is a zero suicide initiative where we want to reduce, hopefully, 0 suicides within our organization. We've made a lot of progress there. 0 suicides within our organization in the last 13 months. For a community mental health center, that's a big deal.
Wow. What transformation have you seen having since moved to Google?
It's transformed the way we work. and it's changed our culture. So before going Google, I think it looks like a lot of other organizations where the way we meet, the way we work was all very done over email and attachments. Meetings we had were done on, everyone had their own piece of paper, but now it's very different. Walking down the hallways, looking in rooms at Speicher, everyone's on their own device. We're collaborating on a document together at the same time. And there's usually someone on the screen joining remotely. So by the time we leave that room, we're all on the same page, figuratively, literally, and the action items are done and we're gone. Before, it was a long process to approve those meeting minutes, sometimes days after the meeting took place. So we're, I think, far more collaborative and more efficient by using these tools.
Yeah, actually, when I first started working with David, they had their wake-up call, they pulled in their superhero, and that's when I got to start working with them. So it was cool to see, it was fantastic to see the changes that they made right from the get-go. You know, first focusing on Gmail, calendar, and contacts. The goal was to change how people communicated first. So we focused on the communication tools, right? That meant migration, getting all that stuff moved into Google, doing onboarding and adoption services to get people excited about moving to Google, configuration and policy updates. You know, all these things were not only doable, but they were, I think, going to help sort of change the way you had been doing things. So that's where we started with users first, was all the Gmail stuff. And then all of a sudden, immediately, people started using Drive organically. Like there was this period of adoption where people just jumped right into Drive and they started using it.
We did, yeah. and we had to bring you back quickly to make sure everybody was trained and understood how sharing rather than attaching worked.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun doing it, which I think that is an important piece of a change like this.
Definitely. So at this point, David and I are now best friends. Come all the way back down to Indiana, and everybody was already using Drive, so we just moved their data to where it needed to be. They pushed that adoption themselves with Google Drive, which was pretty powerful.
It was, and migrating all of our data, once all of our data became instantly searchable, it was really a neat moment for being able to find stuff rather than endlessly organizing it.
Yep. So now we're in a period where literally almost everybody spends their entire day in Google and a couple other systems, getting rid of those 100 servers. So then instant messaging blossoms into video chat, you know, and when you've got instant messaging, video chat, collaboration, communication, it makes sense to just transition people to the next step, which is getting those old, you know, legacy hardware systems out and move people to Chrome, which is pretty big.
We did. So we started off introducing Chromebooks into our organization. We started off as, of course, zero. And this was some organic growth as well. Chromebooks lasted all day on a single charge. They booted in a few seconds. They just worked. And my favorite part about them, they thrive on neglect. So we're up to 475 Chromebooks in our organization, which in just a few years.
I love that. The less you pay attention to them, the better they work. So like after that, the most recent transformation is, well, a while ago, it's now started using Jamboards, right? Instead of whiteboards. Now they've got Meet built in, and people are already, you know, video first is kind of a big thing that I'm sure we'll talk about later. And now you have people collaborating and using Jamboards, and everything can be done on your Chrome device. And so Jamboards was the next step, and I think you're rolling out even more now.
Yeah, we just ordered our second Jamboard, and those are great collaboration tools. But really, these tools change the way we do business. We do business in the browser. Rather than running around installing software, we're always up to date and at the most secure level of these tools. It's really changed the way we work. And like Tristan alluded to before, we do nearly 1,000 video calls a month. So for an organization like ours, that's a big number and a meaningful number. It also, by the way, strategically helps us to be better at telemedicine, which I think is going forward a big part of how healthcare will work in the future.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it looks like from our conversations how much you've grown to adopt Google and G Suite and the ecosystem around it. You were also an early adopter for Google Voice and were part of the original beta program. Would you like to speak a little bit about that?
That's right.
We were, yeah. So we were part of the beta for Voice. And we wanted to look at phones differently. Rather than just a phone sitting on my desk, what else could it do? What could it do if it automatically transcribed my voicemails? What if it worked on the best phone I have, the one in my pocket? And so we're using Voice extensively and with actually very few desk phones. We have over 500 mobile devices, all managed through Google Mobile Device Policy Management, and all doing this all securely and with Voice and other tools has been a welcome change.
Yeah. The other thing is the Chrome extension. So we built a Chrome extension with Aspire to, well, I'll let you explain exactly what it does, what the meaning was for it, but we were able to use Google Cloud, use Chrome, because now Chrome is the biggest presence in David's organization. Everybody's using Google. So we got to build this emergency alert system that's all based into there. It's super fast to use.
Yeah.
You walked up to me at Google Next and you were like, we need to do this. So we over the next few months built it out, and now it's in place. But
we do, and Cloud Bakers built our first Chrome extension, and this one is not a terribly happy subject, but we really wanted people to feel safe and have the ability to report an emergency situation, such as an armed intruder. And at that point, when things it's a very stressful time, you don't want people trying to remember to log in or authenticate or try to remember if they have the app stolen. So this Chrome extension is available to any tab they're on in our system, and they're able to mass text all of Aspire for help or to report a situation without logging in, zero authentication, but yet knowing who that person was. And so that's been a great partnership with Cloud Bakers as well.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing to me is that it brings all of this together. You've got Chrome because everyone's in Chrome because of G Suite. Then you've got mass texting, 500 mobile devices. It gets to everybody no matter where they are. Yeah. It's about keeping people safe. Ideally, no one ever has to use that. But it was a really cool change to make. But the rest of these tools keep getting better over time. So there's more transformation. We talk about this all the time, like all these new features that come out all the time. There's more transformation coming, but we always talk about how innovation isn't always just the new feature set or the brand new thing that nobody's seen before. I think innovation also comes from inclusivity. One of the big things, especially at Aspire, being a mental health organization, is that there are people from all walks of life using this, people with disabilities, people who are differently abled, who are using all of these systems. And now they have features like Smart Transcribe during Meet and auto captioning. There's instant messaging, which is huge. Smart Compose for writing emails. There's dictation in Google Docs, which is, those little tweaks make a world of difference to a portion of the user base.
Certainly, we have a lot of deaf employees. So in a pinch, when an interpreter is not around, the real-time closed captioning in a Meet call, along with the chat back, is really an amazing tool. But other accessibility features, like people that have trouble typing, the dictation, the Smart Compose, these are tools that shave off seconds throughout your day. Yeah.
So my favorite story working with David was when we first came down to do training and go live for Aspire. We did a sort of Indiana-wide tour, going to a bunch of different locations, doing live trainings for people, standing up in front of the room, and I got to be the trainer in most of those cases. And there are pictures of David and I training all over the place now. So he was my assistant trainer. And there were a few locations where there were deaf employees that obviously needed training as well. But the modality of that training at the time was, speak and demonstrate. So in order to make sure that they had everything they needed, as we were sort of exciting everybody to use G Suite, I was able to David got me 2 signers who joined me during the training and started working with me to, as I would sort of train everybody and dictate, they were off to the side furiously live transcribing everything into sign language. They helped me change the way I was doing trainings as well. You want to speak so that people can pay attention to the hands and the person, and then demonstrate after that. It's something that sticks out to me as one of those life-changing moments where, I can go back and say, I was a rock star. You see those people in front of the stage? Yeah, I had those.
That's amazing. And it sounds like you really focus on inclusivity, safety, so many different things. But this is a big change. How did you get there? Like, how do you start making these moves towards the cloud?
Right. So in my opinion, at this point, you really want to be able to let go of the legacy tools. I think so often in our organizations, in our company, we look at a process or a tool and it seems to work really well. And so why would you do something different? But the question you should be asking is, does it add value? Yes, it works well, but does it add value? And in this case, you really need to hire someone that like a chief information officer or someone that's passionate about operating in a safe place, trying new things, and really challenging the assumptions that have been made for sometimes years. So I'd encourage you to give that space for experimentation and innovation through that, and then just partner with people that get it. That's so important. It's hard to change a company's DNA. So a lot of companies out there are adding cloud to their repertoire, but it's sort of an afterthought. We've made a very intentional decision to partner with people and companies that were born in the cloud, that understand the mundane is not adding any value, and start letting go of our legacy tools, adopting modern architecture cloud services. So many of these tools were designed before security mattered, and we're just adding layers of security rather than getting ahead of it.
Definitely. And how did Cloudbakers play a role when it came to this change management and when it helped bring all these different pieces together?
It did. They did a great job. Again, I think I mentioned it earlier, but we had fun doing it. I mean, using some fun videos, simple as high fives in the hallway, some self-deprecating humor, usually at my expense, but that's okay. And they truly did get it. And having that change management, that live training, really helped us, I think, accelerate the use of these modern tools.
Yeah. The best part of working with David was that our teams were 100% on the same page the entire process. Not just what we were doing in the project and why we wanted to implement these tools and, of course, finish the project and hit all our success markers, but it was why we were doing it too. David had a real vision for not just implementing something to keep us safer in the future or implementing something to keep us efficient in the future. He and his whole team were there to implement something that would change Speicher, like change it for the better and launch them forward.
We did, and it's all about collaboration at that point. I mentioned the number one reason people work at Speicher. The number two is because of the teams they work on. So having these mobile and collaboration tools to help further that collaboration has driven that advancement as well.
Yeah, we seemed to find a common ground as soon as we started working with each other, like a shared set of values that was really important to both teams. The one part of the project is always going to be about the technology, the tech, the process for doing this, the migration, the boring pieces. The other side of it is all human driven, all focusing on adoption, getting people excited, giving them something that they can do, something they can use to improve themselves in the future, something they can actually take and run with. So half of the job is actual humans and people. And it was, it's always great to work with somebody who gets it.
Thanks. It is. I think the ability to look at a project like this and not be afraid to fail. Now, this went incredibly smoothly, and I don't think we failed at any point, but being willing to take that step and understand that if it doesn't go just the way we planned, it'll be okay, we'll fix it. I think that's an important piece to making a transformation like this. I think oftentimes people get really wrapped up in if something goes wrong, it's going to be my fault, so it's more comfortable to just stay where we are. You really need that someone on board, hopefully at the upper levels, to understand that this transformation is it's impossible to reduce to eliminate risk. So it's okay to be comfortable with that.
Yeah, that's huge, right? The leadership level, lead by example. We're not doing this to you. We're doing this with you. We're all, that was it continues to be key in sort of everything you guys do, which is we're giving you these spectacular tools. We're going to dazzle you with these awesome features and everything that continues to come out. But the most important part is that you're part of that change. You're not enforcing a change or something like that. It speaks a lot to the culture.
And the executive team was all on board during this transformation. So when your CEO is sharing documents, jumping on Hangouts, just jumping all in, it really sends a nice message to the rest of the organization.
Yeah. When we did trainings, like I said, David was with me for every training. We would show people video. At the time, it was, there's video Hangouts. And at the time, they had this feature where you could overlay anything you wanted on somebody's face. So somewhere I have a picture of David with a pirate hat and a goatee, which is awesome.
Again, to the fun. Fun is underrated.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Very important when going through this change.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers?
Well, I would like to say that just going through this transformation, we not only got all of these wonderful tools that work on any device, anywhere, we also increased security. I think we all know by now that passwords aren't enough, so we went 100% multi-factor authentication. From our cleaning crew to our CEO, we went all in. So being able to increase the methods at which people can access their information and communicate and collaborate, it's a rare opportunity where I've seen technology that allows increased convenience and security at the same time, where typically those are opposing forces.
Yeah. When we were looking at metrics, your users receive about 19,000 emails a day. They send about 3,000. You really, really have drastically cut down on the back and forth through email and attachments and the cruft there.
Yeah, that's a good number. I'd like to see that those number of emails go down. But yeah, we're getting there.
Definitely.
So what's next for Aspire? Any new BHAGs you can share?
I've been thinking about this. So after we've eliminated our data center and letting go of all of our legacy tools, we're going to have that done within 6 months. So now I'm starting to think about things like sustainability. Having everything on Google Cloud Platform, which is a carbon neutral platform. So having some type of measure there to make sure that we're running our organization responsibly. Maybe introduce a paperless component to that, I think, is one thing. Continuing our efforts to become a video-first organization, spread across central Indiana. We don't want to be driving around. It's okay to just jump on a screen, and we're well on our way to making that happen. And then we're kind of all emailed out. I think we all know that. So whatever we can do to help change that culture and do more chatting in rooms and groups and real-time document collaboration. I don't know. What if we had a no email Friday? I think that would be no internal email Friday. I think that would be a neat thing to challenge ourselves to see how we could do business that way.
That sounds amazing. Let me know how that works out. Work on implementing that here. And anything from you from a Cloud Baker's perspective, anything that you've learned along the way that you'd like to share?
Yeah, well, made a great friend along the way. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that we talked about is important. David brought up focusing on innovation, hiring a chief innovation officer. The security doesn't always have to come at the cost of convenience. Those can go hand in hand to a certain extent. And a lot of these tools are exciting. They're not just new changing to a new system for security or something like that. I think it's so important that you focus on and really adopt. It's not change management. Everybody has a Google account pretty much. A lot of people have experience with it, but it's showing them what power is there, what's going to help them day to day in their lives. And so walking through doing these projects and helping organizations move, like David's and others, move to the cloud, the more that you can take advantage of those sort of thoughts, those approaches, the faster you can get there. Should be running to get into the cloud. Get rid of the last 25 servers, get off of these systems that don't use any of the security features that you're used to using. So it's urgency, which I think is a
we
big
do.
part too.
So we talk about this a lot. We do have a sense of urgency in Aspire to get this done, and the reason for that is, in my opinion, we're on a once every century moment here, where we have levels of automation that are coming down the pike in terms of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And I think companies that aren't moving towards running to the cloud and adopting these tools that are ready for those advancements will be significantly behind. And at this point, I truly believe every company is a technology company, regardless of what it is or whether or not they know it. We've never experienced the rate of change with respect to technology, and it's only going to increase. So our sense of urgency is make sure we get there so we're prepared to adopt these new advancements in AI and ML.
Yeah, and now is sort of the time to do that. Start your journey. Go find a partner. Go start talking to Google. Get yourself out there and start making this move.
Thank you both of you for the time and hearing about your journey at Aspire Indiana and your partnership with Cloudbreakers. It was very insightful to see how this can change and transform an organization. So I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. Please visit Cloud on Air for more content from Google Cloud experts.